been.
Dick Gregory spent 5 hours last night walking through the riot-torn area, pleading with rioters to go home.
Moved in, we withdrew and moved back across the street because we have no identification to distinguish us from any group that's standing on the corner. So in the process of moving back, the police moved in. We were standing behind the police's line when they were shooting at the police, and this is when I was hit. And we worry about tonight, but it is now before 10 o'clock, and we have many hours between now and tonight. Now, if we're going to throw our hands up and say it's going to happen tonight, we got to work with this just like a doctor works with a patient until it dies.
Robert Hall is a civil rights spokesman. He was asked why newsmen had been singled out for such rough treatment.
They say that you white reporters are not going to report the news the way it is, as far as the policemen grabbing Negro women off the street or grabbing Negro kids off of the street and beating them 5 and 10 people. So they say you're going to lie to the news, and so therefore they're going to give you something to report. They'll beat you, and then you report that because you tell them that you got beat.
In a more sophisticated way.
You watched the television reporting. Did you see what we put on last night about the problem? Put out the
There's no reporter had his.
Dick Gregory didn't have as much time as he had thought to try to arrive at a truce because it was just shortly after that press conference we saw that the fires were breaking out on 107th Street. And as our afternoon grows late, authorities are increasingly concerned about the number of fires and handguns known to be in the hands of the rioters. Authorities are fearful of what the hours of darkness will bring. There has been no real end of violence since early morning. Throughout the day, the tempo has been quickening. Roadblocks have just been moved to Century Boulevard on the north. They will extend from San Pedro on the west to Stanford Avenue on the east, and further film and other reports in just a moment. Now, it's our understanding that there's a major riot at this moment going on at Manchester and Broadway, and the crowd in that sector reportedly tearing down awnings, breaking windows, and looting. And this is 3 to 4 miles from the main riot scene, so it is spreading. There had been threats earlier today. There were just rumors and reports, but nonetheless threats that the rioting could break out in other parts of the city. We don't know if it is a genuine threat, if it is a genuine threat, in what manner it would develop by osmosis such as this, or just spring up in lightning-like fashion throughout the rest of the metropolitan area. We have no idea. We understand that Lieutenant Governor Anderson is holding a press conference at 6:30 tonight. Earlier today, he announced it is evident that the police of Los Angeles no longer can control the situation. Therefore, he's calling in the Guard. It is our understanding that Negroes at this moment are preparing for the National Guard's arrival on the scene, and some of the following preparations are being made by those who riot. They are making up stockpiles of gasoline bombs. There presently are between 500 and 1,000 looters in the area of 88th and Avalon, reportedly looting gasoline stations at this moment. There's also the report of rioting at 88th and Hoover. An officer was attacked at Broadway in Manchester. They're trying at this moment to get that officer out. They're very short of police officers, and they're blocking off other sectors to help introduce the National Guard to the scene. Let's continue in just a moment. We pause first a word for, of all things, sleepies. There's not too much to be said about the weather.
It was uncommonly warm on Wednesday, August 11, 1965 in L.A. This was the continuation of a heat wave. The high temperature on August 12th was 92 degrees, which was the lowest of the previous 5 days. And it was even hotter on the 13th. Heat has been pointed to as a factor in the murder rates going up in various regions during August of any year. A number of psychologists and other analysts were quick to point to the weather as a catalyst in sparking of the uprisings, while others pointed to the combinations of heat and smog. As the embers were still cooling, Professor Richard Hankey, who taught courses in police administration, charged flatly that the weather was a significant factor in heightening unrest. He argued forcefully that hot weather increases crime rates and violence. and the added related factor that Blyton, a poor residential district, had few air conditioning, swimming pools, and very little privacy. Also small homes in very dense populated neighborhoods. There was a lot of racial tension in Watts and a constant battle between the police. The natives were restless. The turbulence of August 1965 that swept across Black Los Angeles conveniently, but inaccurately, denoted as the Watts Riots or Watts uprisings. It stretched far beyond that one area. It was a surprise to some, but not to others. The progressive black attorney Lori Miller apparently predicted this in May 1964. Something in this manner would happen in Watts, at least that is what Stanley Moss of California, Attorney General and later Supreme Court judge, told. Miller was said to have foreseen the violence in Los Angeles. Miller said that it was inevitable. Also, envisioned the appointment of a commission who would collide the civil rights leaders and the police. On August 11, 1965, Marquette Frye was pulled over for reckless driving. He was driving his mother's 1955 Buick at the time. After administering a field sobriety test, police placed Frye under arrest and radioed for his car to be impounded. Marquette's brother, Ronald, was a passenger in the vehicle. He walked to their house that was nearby, and he brought his mother back with him. Their mother's name was Renna Price. Renna Price reached the intersection of Avalon Boulevard and 116th Street. She scolded Marquette about drinking and driving in the car. The police pushed the mother, and things escalated quickly. After that, everything got out of hand. Now the police were using physical force and pointing their guns. One of them even pulled out a shotgun. The crowd began to grow from local residents. As the situation infested, the crowd began throwing bottles, bricks, and anything else they can throw at the police. The police began attacking everyone, including women and children. A pregnant woman was kicked in the stomach by the cops. According to some of the cops, Marquette was so strong they had to use physical force. Now Marquette was only 5'7", 130 pounds. But let's think about this for a second. George Zimmerman spoke about how strong Trayvon Martin was. He was just so unbelievably strong, just so dominant. He feared for his life. He thought he was about to die. You look at Mike Brown, the officer who killed him, Darren Wilson. Darren Wilson said, wrestling with Mike Brown, he felt like a kid holding on to Hulk Hogan. He said he felt like a 5-year-old holding on to Hulk Hogan. You can look this up. He really said that. They fear us. It's fear. So when something happens, when police have to use excessive force, there's always a story of how strong we were, how dominant we were, how massive we were. And there's plenty of other situations that I can mention. So this is a thing for them. So Marquette was out on parole for robbery, and his brother Ronald was discharged from the Air Force. So they decided to go kick it that night. They went to go hang out with a couple of women. They drove their mom's Buick. Now when the madness kicked off, officers smacked him around, attacked his mom, attacked women and children. They knocked her on the ground and hit her in the knee with a blackjack. A LA Times journalist wrote, "Rocks began to fly, chunks of concrete, pieces of wood, or anything that can be thrown at targets. Targets that was anyone who was unfamiliar to the neighborhood, mostly vehicles." The police department dispatched over 80 helmeted officers. More than 100 square blocks were decimated by fires and looters. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you thumbs up, share, and hit the notification bell. These two books I will highly recommend if you want to learn more about the Watts riots.
Less pay than the white man, you mean?
That's right.
Do you think it always has to be this way?
Not necessarily.
What do you think will bring about a change?
Give everybody a job, that's all. That's all any of us need is a job. See all us men standing out here? We don't need nothing but a job. You wouldn't see us out here. We don't have nowhere to go. We don't have no jobs. Where's it for us to do? We come out here and drink. Wasn't for a lot of our wives, we'd be in bad shape.
Your wives support you. They work,
That's
is
right.
that it? How does it make you feel when you know that your wife is working and you're not?
It don't make you feel real good.
It's very hard to try to explain to someone what it feels like to be black in a white world. The things that happen to you daily and that affect you and that are so much a part of you are very hard sometimes to even remember because they come so routine.
Because when you go up any places around for employment or work, you go up against a whitey, and you ask him, do he have any type of work for you to do? He'll tell you no, and the next day you come up there, he's putting a white person right in stand of you.
At first I was looking for a job with a skill, but then I couldn't find that, so I started looking for common labor and still can't find nothing.
As they says, you just go put in your applications and I guess when you walk out, they throw their applications in the trash basket.
As long as you're from Watts, we can't use you.
This is some of what it's like, but there's really nothing that I can tell you here that would fully really let you know what it's like because it's too horrible and too deep really to communicate to anyone.
I mean, you leave to fight for truth, dignity, respect, and respect of other people. When you come back, you find the same thing, the same assets. No life of your own. Nowhere you can put your name down and say, this is Collins' land.
We scream, but we can't be heard. We talk, but we can't be heard. It just seems like people don't understand.
Respect and dignity is all I'm fighting for the black man himself.
Right. Now's the time. Now it was that time that we start fighting for our rights, what we want.
I say this much. There's a human being that has been misused. Would you have something to fear from me if you attack me? Would you? Let's stand. Answer it yourself. Would you have something to fear from me if you attack me?
You would use bloodshed?
If you attack
you would use...
No one knows what I will do, but would you fear? Would you fear? Would you fear? You don't know how I will respond, but do you? Would you fear?
You're going to create a black monster down here. And this black monster is going to get larger and larger. And pretty soon he's going to eat all of us up. Even the Negroes that's wearing neckties and accusing themselves of being intellects. And all the white men that come in their steps.
What bugs you the most?
White man.
All white men?
Not all. Just the one that's pushing the Negro.
And you've been pushed around by white men?
When I was younger, I was, but not now.